I've been expecting you, Abraham. I've been listening to your recordings all throughout high school, and this year is my first year in college. And I feel like I have some added resistance to me that is keeping me from like floating. I feel like once I have certain things figured out, I'll be able to like levitate and like.
That's true of everyone.
Yeah. I play the oboe, and that's where I want to go for my profession. And I was wondering how to get better at it, I guess, quicker, because I've heard you say in multiple recordings it can take hours, not years. There's certain limitations that are keeping me from it, and I also feel like what you said about putting your hand on the stove, you don't need to do it again and again to know that that's not what you want. But I was wondering if I left my hand on the stove a little bit longer, would that like propel me forward?
Yes. Yes. It does work that way, because when you sort of know what you don't want, you sort of know what you do want.
Yeah.
And when you really know what you don't want, you really know what you do want.
Yeah.
So there is a potential for momentum.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when we talk about that receptive mode, that's what's happened. Your vortex has been culminating, and your inner being has been focused upon it. And law of attraction is adding to it. So cooperative components are coming. And as they build one upon another, then the momentum becomes so much that it just bursts forth in a way that if you're in the vicinity, you can receive it. So that's what that thrilling idea is. That's you being in the receptive mode. But most people, when that first happens, they're not accustomed to maintaining that. They just happen to be accidentally in a good frame of mind. And so they received the idea, but they aren't good yet at maintaining the vibrational stance that holds them in the receptive mode. So it's true. There's a lot of momentum that is built by knowing what you don't want. But once the idea comes, going back and forth like that only slows your momentum down. Once an idea bursts into your mind and you know for sure this is something I truly desire, then you don't want to be or need to be slowing it down to goose it up. Once you know that you want something with the power that you know that you want this, you don't need to add any more momentum by sifting and sorting. You just don't need to do that. What you do want to do is tap into the feeling of it and let that momentum grow. So you don't talk about limitations. You talk about things like how much I love it and how much I like it and what the feeling of it is like. Tell us when you are in the action, the inspired action of actually making the sound come through that instrument. Can you describe to us what the emotional experience of that is for you?
It almost feels like this, being here. I feel like right now my body's a little fuzzy, and that's how I feel when I'm playing in an orchestra. I get to...
So what that means is, and this is the part that we really want you to hear, gonna back up just a little bit so that you and everyone really understands what we're talking about. Everyone who has ever joyfully played the oboe is there with you when you play. All those people who've been in all those orchestras who loved it so much that it was their life, they loved it so much, they're playing with you. That's why the same sensation of source energy interacting with you here is what you're experiencing then, you see. So now describe to us why there's anything other than that thought in your mind.
I don't know. It's irrelevant now.
Maybe that piece of understanding will help you. One day, Esther sort of stumbled on it. You know, how one thing leads to another, that 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 leads to another. And so one day she was sitting and writing, and she was already in the receptive mode. She was feeling quite good. As she was in Texas looking out across her swimming pool at so many things that Jerry, she remembered, had orchestrated. She remembered the day, the many days that he dragged long hoses around to make the outline of the house that she is now sitting in. And she remembered how many hours they spent standing there trying to even imagine what this swimming pool that the architect had designed was really going to look like, because it's a zero-edge pool and it also has an infinity edge. So it's zero edge with the tile, which is amazing, And then it drops off into a waterfall down below. And Esther could not see it in her mind's eye. And Jerry so wanted her to understand it that he just walked all over there and he'd say, it's going to be this high, and this is going to be like this, and this is going to be like this. And Esther would say, I sort of get it, but I don't really get it. And now she's sitting there with the house and the pool, and there are all of these beautiful oak trees that this house was planned around. And so the house sort of is odd in the way that it's shaped in order to allow these oak trees to stand where they're standing. And so Esther is sitting there remembering all of those early stages before there was any house. All there was a hose which sort of kind of pointed out where the house was going to be. And Esther was feeling such appreciation for all of those conversations and all of those hoses and all of those drawings and all of those people and all of those builders and all of those ideas and all of that becoming. And then her mind just exploded with all of the men that brought the supplies and all of the roads that allowed the men to bring the supplies and all of the industry that creates the supplies. And she just went on a sort of fit frenzy of appreciation of everything. And so she took her notebook and she drew like a megaphone with the narrow end, and there she is. She drew herself as a very happy girl standing right there. And then the megaphone is out there and she draws all these things that are all pointing at her, all of the well-being that is pointing at her. And we want you to feel not only all of the physical stuff that has led to this, we want you to in that same way understand all who have come before you, who have loved the things that you are about, who are still alive within you, who are feeling the resonance of the music that you blow through that horn, feeling it, and you feeling them feeling it. That's why you do this. Not only for the beautiful sound, and not only for the magnificent collaboration with all the other members of the orchestra who are doing the same thing with the other non-physical members of the orchestras, the orchestras, the orchestras, the orchestras. No wonder people are drawn to those moments in time where the continuity of life is felt in real fashion, here on the leading edge where all the juice is, you see. Oh, it's nice to be non-physical. We love being non-physically focused. We love the wholeness that we are. But there's nothing more satisfying than to focus the whole of that which we are and the interests that we feel, to focus them into the leading edge accomplishers like you. There's nothing more satisfying than that continuation of beingness, you see. It's not just ideas that we are transmitting to you. It's whole understandings. It's whole movements in music. It's an opportunity for your body to be able to find air that you didn't even know was in it. Your ability to hold some of those notes. Some of that air is coming from some of us who have known how much you need in order to sustain those notes, you see. You are not in any of this alone ever. And yet so many people walk around needing to prove their worthiness to someone or something. And in that defiance of needing any help or getting any help, they just stand in this righteous indignation as they're going to prove themselves worthy. And in the whole time of doing that, they're pinching themselves off from the everlasting, ever-flowing love of non-physical that is enjoying the co-creation in this moment in time. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. We don't think it's likely you're going to find any resistance anytime soon. And when you do, you will always remember that all resistance is for a moment feeling singular instead of plural.
Thank
Enough?
you. Yes.